Do you play trading card games? Of course you do. That's why you're listening to / watching this thing. If you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Hey everybody, welcome to Nexus at Night in a Bathrobe. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm not wearing a bathrobe. I could, though.
I'm also not wearing a bathrobe.
You could if you want. I'm in my bathrobe because it's warm and fuzzy, and also because I'm sitting next to a roaring AC unit, which, while necessary for keeping my apartment cool, is very cold when you sit next to it. So
fair enough.
Yeah. So today on the show, we're talking about anti-meta, like the concept of anti-meta.
We're arguing about anti-meta.
Yeah.
We're arguing about anti-meta, yes.
You're going to argue with Matt, and then I'm going to interject with different terminology.
Okay. Well, let's start off with something fairly simple. What is the definition of anti-meta in trading card games?
Well, so classically, a meta is an environment in which the game is played, right? Okay. There are decks that people normally play, which people call the meta decks. And if you're anti-meta, you should be fighting against it would be like against the meta, right? So basically you would be specifically devised to play in that particular meta game.
Yeah. So would the example of the 2018 world champion that had Darkface to counter all of the Ezel decks be considered anti-meta?
That is a better kind of anti-meta than a lot of other things, right? Because like I think another example we bring up a lot is like Seven Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Despite like ripples,
despite like Seven Runner just being the best deck, right, and the most represented deck, so you cannot call it anti-meta.
So where does the line go from like anti-meta being orchestrated to fight against the top decks?
This is part of the reason why the term is a little awkward.
Yeah,
is that it doesn't really like. You can only really be anti-meta, like, in a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be anti-meta forever.
Yeah.
Because the meta is a constantly changing thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what is anti-meta is going to change based on what the meta currently is. Which is why the term is very hard to kind of pin down.
Yeah, I think when people think of an anti-meta deck, they mean something that is made specifically to counter the top decks, and it's usually a control deck, something that makes it hard for usually the bigger, stronger, faster decks to do what they do normally. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, you had like a lot of Mystic Mine decks be anti-meta because they prevent the opponent from attacking or using monster effects, or like back in the days when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, like Royal Oppression, like that was showing up a lot. Which prevented
even Mystic Mine is just a card that people put in their deck.
Yeah.
Like, people will just play their terraforming, and then just put a Mystic Mine and randomly Mystic Mine you. But their deck isn't, like, built to play around Mystic Mine, right?
Yeah.
It's just they just play Mystic Mine because sometimes people just don't main deck an out for it.
Yeah.
So,
like you said, because it's only, like, a moment in time and not something you can ascribe, like, a full-on play style to, it's, like, hard to like exemplify. And
that's exactly right, which is why I think the Darkface example is quite good. Is that, you're aiming at very specific targets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like you are good against those, and you probably get absolutely thrashed by anything else.
Yeah.
I think another good Yu-Gi-Oh example is back during Dragon Ruler format. People would play like Barrier, Statue, Stun. They just play like the light and dark barrier statues and a bunch of trap cards. But like that deck gets absolutely raffle stomped by literally any deck playing an average normal summon, right?
Yeah, or just
it wasn't even good against Dragon Ruler, but people pretended it was.
I mean, you still had like spell books running around too. Like that was a big part of it.
Yeah. It's just like the problem is like Blaster is a card.
Mm-hmm.
So like most of like the setup you can do, like Evil Swarm is a good example. Blaster was just like go away.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's anti-meta, but it doesn't even do a good job at that, right?
Yeah. I mean, the guy with the Darkface thing won Worlds.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, it's a successful case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
good. No, continue. My point is like a follow-up after you guys are done with this discussion.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of like a case where like you've aimed at your target, things went your way most of the time. You got the matchups that are favorable to you.
Yeah.
And it worked out. Yeah, that can totally happen.
There were enough Ezel players to justify his existence.
Well, remember this was also Worlds, so it's a smaller tournament.
Very few. It's a very small player pool, and if people know that Gold's the best deck going into it, you can choose a deck. Like it's really easy to kind of figure out the meta for a small tournament than it is for a large one.
Yeah.
Because especially a small tournament of very good players who are can assume are just going to bring the best deck.
Yeah.
It's actually much easier to pinpoint around that metagame than it is at like a regional where some people will show up playing whatever they like.
Yeah. And like especially like your locals are kind of a little microcosm of this, where you can be like, all right, let's say Gary keeps showing up with I don't know, Link Joker, so you start running Poker just to counter Gary, because you're going to see him every week. But if you go to a regional, Gary's not necessarily going to be there, and you're probably not going to get matched up with him. So it might not be
400 people there, like you're not going to meet Gary.
Yeah.
And even if you do, that's 1 out of like 7-8 games.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's which that all leads me to the question of seeing as how they revealed the Mega Colony Stride and G-Guard for Premium Collection 2022, which I do want to read, and then wanted to talk about Order Colony and whether or not that counts as anti-meta. So first,
well, that was going to lead into my point, is like looking at the discussion and like your logic for classifying Order Colony, I feel like you're really asking if Floodgates are good for Vanguard.
Yeah. Kind of.
Because, like, that's what Mega Colony is, right? It's a Floodgate deck. Like, Gradora stops you from calling things, Obturandus stops you from calling things, the original Darkface GB2, like, stun things on call. Like, the whole point of the deck is to Floodgate you.
Yeah. So, first off, the reveals, the Stride is Toxic Mutant Deity Malignantis. So, act on Vanguard or in G-Zone once per turn. If this card is on Vanguard, you can turn a card in G-Zone for the cost instead. If it's face up, counterblast 1, put one of your rear guards into your soul, choose one of your opponent's rear guards that's standing and retire it. If you retire, draw 1 and countercharge 1. If you did not retire, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and it gets minus 10k until end of turn. So...
Yeesh. So I hate this kind of like. I wouldn't mind this card if Order Colony wasn't already like an established deck. But like this card kind of fixes a lot of Order Colony's remaining problems. One of which was it was a relatively low power deck.
Yeah.
But now it has access to minus 10k. You know, your whole board gets plus 10k, basically, or your front row gets plus 10k.
Yeah.
And like. On top, on top of its persona rides on turn 4, right? Like, it's really scary. And the fact that this is not a hard once per turn means on the second Gradora Stride you can activate 2 of them.
Yes, and like we know that like you're just gonna flip this for Gradora just 100%. To have them face up.
100%.
Yeah, easy.
Because I don't know why it's active in G Zone, honestly.
Yeah,
I think because in their heads it's. Like, Mega Colony has been historically kind of underpowered. So on paper, this isn't bad. It's just that you have a deck that takes the Gradora thing and runs wild with it. The G-Guard is not really pertinent to what we're talking about, but I might as well read it anyway. When it's put on Guard Circle, Soul Blast, and it gets plus 30k until end of the battle, your opponent can chooses any number of their rear guards and rest them. For each unit rested, this unit gets minus 10k shield.
So this card, like, almost always just says shield plus 30,000.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, it's much better than, I don't know, Gears.
Yeah.
We'll come up to
I don't know how they made a G-Guard that was worse than the OTT one.
What did you say?
They did it. I don't know how they made a G-Guard worse than the OTT one, but they did it.
The Gears G-Guard is actually insulting.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
But,
Although the Royals G-Guard isn't that amazing looking either, to be perfectly honest.
It's decent.
I would have to read it again.
Yeah. Well, we'll cover that in the set review. But
Right.
so Order Colony on paper, with the definitions that we have, seems like it would be an anti-meta deck because
Why?
I'm getting there. A lot of the popular decks at the moment are things based off of Superior Colony. Pale Moon, Grand Blue, Gold Paladin to an extent.
Pale Moon was fine into Corridora prior to the Stride.
Was fine. What do you mean?
Yeah, it was not like that bad.
I'm saying
Pale
that
Moon's
like
pretty strong early, right?
yeah, but like aside from that, just the mechanic of Pale Moon as a clan, of Grand Blue as a clan, of Gold Paladin as a clan, is calling from not the hand. So on paper, Gridora is good against decks like that. But because of Fabricated Dragon of Ruination, the book, and Shadow Cloak, allowing you to make this engine where it just allows Gridora to stay alive and to capitalize on the stunned opponent's board, while also shutting down G-Darts. That's something that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah, that is the most infuriating part of that card.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was really funny when I had the deck for a time and I was playing Richard. He's like, why? I can't G-Dart. I can't go into Ultimate. I was like, fuck yeah.
It is the worst. Like, the card just does, like, already did a lot, and now it does even more.
Yeah. So having that along with things like Heldemise and Bomb Scissor or whatever his name is that allows you to get a 5th attack instead of
Heldemise will always be played. That card's so good.
Yeah. So knowing all that, it is now topping in like pretty good numbers. We've seen California's and we've seen Antwerp. Now
there was also a premium tournament in my area that had I think 2 mega colonies in top 4, or 2 order colony in top 4. There was 3 because there was an order colony mirror.
Yeah.
Which took I think it was a best of 3 that took like 2 hours.
Oh my god! There was a best of 3. Jesus Christ!
It took 2 hours. I'm just like, oh my god! This is the norm, this is a nightmare, right?
Yeah. So this is now like crossed the line between anti-meta to just meta.
I just told you there were 3 in top 4, and this is before the Stride, right?
This is for them.
Oh.
The listener, not you.
Oh.
So, yeah, knowing that, a lot of people are like, they got to hit this. This has to die. Because Vanguard players are just... Actually, I think any TCG is like that. Whatever starts winning, immediately people are like, they have to kill it. It has to die now.
But also, like, in particular, people really hate floodgates.
Yeah, floodgates are not fun to play against. Nobody likes having the opponent drop out. There can only be one, or a Gozen match or something.
Rivalry, all the fun ones.
Rivalry of the Warlords, Mystic Mind, all that good stuff. Like it's not fun to play against. So knowing this, do you think Bushiroad should do something, and do you think they are going to do something?
I think they should do something. So what's extra annoying about Gridora, right, is not only does it basically have its one weakness solved, in that it's formerly low power.
Yeah.
It also is a deck that you can't grade 2 against, because grade 2 gaming only works if you're like up on advantage, right?
Yeah.
But they just ride up and they draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. You can't afford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you will lose. So.
Definitely. Like even if they can't stride, they're just going to be like, all right, cool.
I'll draw 3.
Draw 3, cool. Next turn I'll Persona ride and draw another 3.
And now you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the deck just.
Well, here's another thing I wanted to bring up. So even if you like, their quote weakness should be rushing them, except they now have Brilliant Blister V.
Mm-hmm.
Which allows them to punish overly aggressive rearguard actions. To the point where decks are trying to figure out ways to play around Brilliant Blister by either having things that don't care or things that gave resist. So we're going back to like late G era against all that Link Joker stuff where everybody got resist, everybody gave everything resist. This thing went up to $7,000 on TCG Player because some guy, like it was a buyout and some guy went insane.
Just buy your Sweeper Cocantos. What's the problem?
That too. That was another one. Yeah, luckily I had a playset, but yeah, lesser writer. Anyway, so it's turning into that. They seem to have kind of like all the tools have kind of fallen into place. So I guess it just like if they are going to do something, I feel like the easy way would just be choice restrict the dragon in the book. You know, you still have that strong like ability to get a persona ride and maybe do something else like the Link Joker order that like stands a guy and like that's still a draw, which would be slower but not outright kill it. I don't think. As well, the whole Ruination Dragon book Shadow Cloak engine is starting to be splashed in other decks. Like I saw an Aquaforce build with it.
Sure.
They got that stride that gives an Excel circle, so they don't give a shit.
It's free real.
Yeah, so I don't hate that engine on the whole. I think something's going to happen or should happen.
The deck should definitely be hit in some way, but it's not going to be till after this tournament series anyway, so I'm not that worried about it like interrupting the tournament series. So like,
yeah, they're probably going to wait till the end.
After next Worlds.
Yeah.
And then they might do something, but I do not want this to turn into like Steal or something, right? Where it's just like this
just leave it
looming threat just forever.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't like. It definitely killed a lot of hype.
For what?
For this premium collection.
Really?
Because people were like pretty hyped for a while, and then like they saw the Gridora stride, and they're like, "Oh," or the Mega Colony stride, and they're like, "Oh no."
This just works with Gridora.
Yeah, I mean it's partly I think the adverse reaction is partly because you have this slow deck that's like effectively a control deck that's like good and like probably like on the potential to be tier 0. Like I'm not saying it is tier 0. I'm saying it has like it could be like it's like wouldn't be surprising for it to be tier 0, and that is really really obnoxious because like the way you have to play this kind of game is completely different. It doesn't allow you to play like your most standard game plan anymore.
Yeah,
which a lot of people generally dislike. If you play a deck that forces your opponent to play differently, they will play generally a lot worse.
Yeah. Like I have to run Gaia Devastate specifically for Regalia. And I don't like going.
I hate that card. It's so bad. Like I get that you have to play it, but it sucks.
Oh no, it's a huge pain in the ass. The fact that you have to engorge something, then kill 3 of your things for the dude.
It's trash.
Too much. Yeah.
It's also like the worst worded card because they already even had like if you like you could just have them engorge like 3 units.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be like when it's engorged retire 3?
I think it's because it's supposed to be for locks, like you can kill locks.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Whatever. Anyway, but I'm saying that that Regalia is forcing me to play differently to run that so that I have to use it, and it's not fun.
I would ask who's playing Regalia, but we already know the answer to that question.
Yes, but also I saw it a good number of times. Like there was one of the top. Like it's around. Regalia's around.
I believe it.
But yeah, so I don't know if Bushiri, like obviously they're going to wait till the end. I don't know if they're going to do what they're going to do. But in general, like Ripper, when you said that our floodgates good for the game, are they for something like Vanguard?
Because like part of the problem with Vanguard is there's not a lot of interaction, right? Like you don't have a chance to counter the floodgate ability. You just kind of have to take it. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, if your opponent makes VFD, you can hit it with like a droplet or something, right? But there's no forbidden droplet in Vanguard.
Yeah.
Or Cosmic Cyclone for their insert random flood summon limit. Like pick your favorite.
Yeah. So, like that's my instinct because like with something like Seven Runner, it took multiple ban lists to fix it, and then like either that or they would have had to like fundamentally change one of the mechanics in the game, which they ultimately did anyways, far later than it needed to happen. But you know, something on that level needed to happen the last time somebody abused game mechanics to create a floodgate situation. And then, like, I don't even know how you counter the Gridora stride right now with any, like, gameplay mechanics, because it just stops you from calling things outside of hand.
Yeah.
Don't have a PG, get wrecked.
Yeah, outside of Vanguard making, like, Effect Veiler or something.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen. Like, the main thing is, for the most part, your main phase, you are left to your own devices to do what you want. Your battle phase, depending on what you're playing against, the opponent is either responding to you or they, like, you know, if you're Kagero or something.
Yeah.
You have
like...
Yeah.
Like, Blitz orders have added a little bit of extra dynamic, you know, like we just got the Fox order that can reduce your opponent's power.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, but generally outside of guard step, there's not a whole lot of interaction for the game, so because of that, like, floodgate decks are just really annoying. Like, I don't know if I classify Link Joker as a floodgate, but they are, like, annoying to play against, right? Especially when they're, like, good enough to be relevant.
I haven't seen Link Joker in a while.
They were
Link Joker's not relevant right now.
They were a floodgate before that whole race to the sea thing started happening, where they went, all right, we can lock you from hand. And then they went, we can unlock by various ways. Well, we can unlock from hand and drop zone or relock stuff or whatever. It just turned into this weird arms race of locking versus unlocking.
But, like, in general, right, like, cards that tell you to stop having fun are generally not seen very kindly by the player base. Like, nobody likes Skill Drain, nobody likes, you know, all the other Yu-Gi-Oh! Floodgates. People are complaining about Gridora right now because it just says, stop playing the game.
Yeah.
Skill Drain's funny because it sucks right now, despite being at 3.
Yeah, because no Imperial Order.
No.
Well, yeah.
The Adventure Engine makes Skill Drain irrelevant.
Oh, that's right.
You just bounce it. Draco back bounce your Skill Drain.
You gotta pay 1,000 more to activate it, idiot. Good luck.
It's in your hand, so you have to wait forever too. And they just go off because LOL.
Alright, Scythe Lock with DPE. Like, you set the Skill Drain, next turn DPE pops itself.
Easy.
So,
yeah, Scythe is a card.
Yeah.
But, like, I think, like, the ease of access is also important too. Like, I think there's definitely, like, you want there to be, like, countermeasures to these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And in the Mega Colony's case, it just says you can't, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely a you can't card. And for a lot of decks, it, like, completely, like, stops their game plan. And for some decks, like, they can kind of, like, still do their thing, but, like, I mean, the Gridora Stride does more than that, right?
Yeah. And also, like, unlike something like Obturandus that also just says you can't call things, period, like, Gridora also gets you an extra attack with plus 10k, and it stuns all the units too. Like, Obturandus, at least you have to do extra work to stun your opponent's board.
Yeah. In my experience and in seeing other people play it, it seems like Obturandus is matchup dependent. Like,
Obturandus is not as good as he once was.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, because like, you want to use it
with.
against something like a Grand Blue, or they wiped their board at the end of their turn, so you're like, all right, try that shit again, let's see what happens. Yeah. Then they just go into bad bounty and, you know, crack your teeth in, which is why the
that's always been Obturandus has been around since, like, what, 2015, and has never been that good because it's such a nothing turn, because stopping you from calling is all the card does.
It's also incredibly expensive cost-wise.
Yeah,
Counterblast 2, discard 1. Dude.
Yeah, so you're, like, minusing. It doesn't gain any extra power. It doesn't make any extra attacks. It doesn't even give you, like, defensive value. It just stops your opponent from calling. So if you want to effectively stop your opponent from doing anything, you need to pay more costs and use more skills on top of it. But With Gridora, you can just floodgate your opponent and stun their board and get an extra attack.
At least one.
At least one. Yeah. I'm wondering, like, if they do the choice restriction between the dragon and the book, or if they try and do something light first, like, all right, no shadow cloak.
I don't know.
I don't know if that would help.
I don't know what the correct hit is, and I don't think they're. Like I said, I don't think they're going to hit it for a while. So it's just going to be like the reality of this premium season for now.
Yeah, I do think people like our game, especially. We whine a lot.
That's true. That's true. we do whine a lot.
So much about.
Can I do some not complaining for a bit?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Perfect. All right. So Spike Brothers got some sick cards.
Oh, we're doing this. Okay. Cool.
Well, yeah. I want to not. I want to not complain for a bit.
Okay.
Because I think this card's really cool.
All right.
So Spike Brothers got this stride called Outlawed King Gary Gavels. That's why Gary was like a good random choice of name earlier. So it has an auto on Van that when a rearguard attacks, it gets power plus 10,000, and then it goes to the bottom of your deck. Great, the card does everything we want it to do. Wait, hold on, there's more. Auto on Van Circle, when this unit attacks, so when it attacks, you can Soul Blast one, search your deck for up to 2 grade 2 or lower units, and call them to empty rearguard circle, shuffle your deck. Then all of your rearguards get boosted until end of turn.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's super sick.
The first translation I saw, I thought it said it was only grade 2 units, so I thought it was a little restrictive, but if it's just grade 2 or lower, then you can grab whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's definitely grade 2 or lower. It's just looking at the Japanese. Yeah. All right. But this card is so cool.
Yeah.
There's basically like, if you have like 2 CB, say, you can get 10 attacks if you with a couple pieces.
10 attacks on first stride.
Stride. And they're all like 28k plus.
Dude. That's
so
really
cool.
good.
Yeah. So it's just like, and that's with 2 CB, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you have 1 CB and like you have it some different pieces, you can still get up to 9 attacks if you have Gyro Slinger.
I like how one counterblast didn't make a difference of like 4 attacks. It was 1. 9.
Yeah, and if you have, let's say you have 1 CB and no relevant pieces.
Yeah.
You still get 7 attacks.
Oh my god. Dude.
And it's really easy to get 1 CB this day and age.
Yeah?
Due to a certain grade 3 heal trigger.
And it's an auto charge force marker for everything, no cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have no idea what the best build is, right? But you have all these sweet combos using a Mecha Instructor. Is the card that you're playing here. You're playing 4 of that.
Stand trigger?
The stand trigger. The one that's when it's put on bottom of your deck, you put a card from hand to soul, bind something, call it back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you just keep messing around with that.
Nice.
And I assume Proof will put out a video that explain it in more detail.
He did a thing where
I assume he'll put out another one.
Oh, like where he got...
where he kind of dives into it. But, there's like a lot of details, and it's kind of hard to just say in words, so... Yeah. I'll let him have the honors, but it's a super sweet card. Like I said, even with like just random grade 2s, you can get like I said, up to 7 attacks with 1 CB.
Wow!
So it's 1 CB, 1 Soul Blast, and 1 card out of your hand.
Oh my god!
Like it's like really like that's like really poverty levels of resources in Vanguard, right?
Yeah.
1 CB, 1 Soul Blast, and 1 card. I think,
and that's like outside of Rising Greedon, which is also a pretty solid deck.
Yeah, I don't know how well it works with the Greedon stuff or with the Rising Greedon. I don't really. It doesn't. I don't know if it meshes with me. Yeah. I've just been messing around with like random other grade 3s. Like I don't know. I was thinking about like Rona and Jugs, or like Davies and Lucifer. Yeah. So there's like a few different options you can go there. I have no idea what the best one is.
But that's half the fun of the deck building.
Right. And it's kind of like, this is the first piece of like this is the first Mike Brothers stride we've seen in a while. It's just like, I might want to actually stride this.
Yeah. Well, because it's not like it's not another goddamn put a thing from hand into soul to do something.
Yeah, and I mentioned like I really wanted a first stride for Spikes, and this is exactly that. Like it is like basically the perfect version of that first stride.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it.
Suck on that, Agrius.
Yeah, and like you get to run agile fullback from the latest V collection that can attack from the back row if it's in center slot. So that's another attack that you can get out of their back row that is quite useful as well. So it'll be a 30k attack out of the back center slot.
Oh my god, that's not even just the front row that does anything that's attacking. Anything.
Yeah,
anything.
Oh my god.
Anything. If it attacks, it gets 10k. And like, yeah, it's so cool.
Stay tuned for deck profile? Question mark?
Yeah, and I think there's some meme stuff about like people doing like, I don't think this is good, but it's pretty funny to think about. Is you see like Machine Gun Glory on Breach Spurt to like you can activate the Breach Spurt effect to bottom deck a normal unit.
Yeah,
and because that's the whole cost is bottom deck a normal unit.
Yeah,
from drop, and at end of battle it goes to bottom of deck, or you can put it into soul, draw a card, right, and then you can like instead just activate Machine Gun Gloria, put them both back, draw a card off Machine Gun Gloria, draw a card off Breach Spurt.
Oh my god, you're plussing. In Spike Brothers. What?
I don't know if that's particularly good, but it's definitely very funny.
Still, like, that counts. That's a first for you guys.
This card pluses on its own, except that it like sends your regards back to deck, I guess. But this deck is super sweet.
That's very
there's so many spread cheating that needs to be done still. But the true mystery is what is the maximum number of attacks one can get off 3 CP. That is the big open question right now. I believe it's at least 11. So we'll see
still
where that ends
12 up. Doesn't count. You can't beat
that's the mystery. Can we get? And I'm not sure that it's necessarily possible just due to how the space is set up, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's super cool.
Definitely.
Like
a lot of these
cool?
What's that?
The OTT stride.
Yeah.
What's OTT?
Well, we talked about all these on Tangents, patreon.com/tonight,
but we're basically done with the order colony discussion now, so we're just gonna talk about cool new strides. Except this one's not that cool.
Yeah, I'll bring up the Great Nature one when we do the set review, and also there will be a deck profile of that when that's done.
I was thinking about it. It's actually pretty okay because it's like a nice first stride for OTT, which is all they need.
Yeah, but it's also like not accounting for the overtrigger. It is very medium. So you turn a card in your G-Zone face up, reveal a number of cards from top deck equal to the number of face-up cards in G-Zone plus 2, call all the revealed normal units, and then add all trigger units revealed, activate the effects of all revealed triggers.
It's almost a draw 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've kind of, my opinion of this card is slowly increasing every time I read it. Just because I'm like, you tried this once, and then you just keep slamming Ichikashima, and you just forget the rest happened.
Well, yeah, because it also like triggers have higher shields, so it helps you survive to Ichikashima.
Well, assuming you hit triggers, yeah.
Well, this card is very dependent on OTT having good rear guards, which it does not.
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
I'm pretty. Like, is the strat just crutching on Silent Tom again?
Probably.
Has it ever not been?
That is a good point. Like, I'm trying to think of how to use this card, and like. The only things that restand are like Lepisto, which is CB2, or there's a card where if you check a trigger, depending on the trigger checked, you can counterblast 1 to either restand a grade 2 or lower unit if it's a front trigger, or spin something back to the deck if it's a crit trigger. But that means you're running front triggers in premium, which I think is incorrect.
That seems like an ant.
Unless you're Excel. Excel can make good use of them.
Right? Yeah, but like in OTT, I'm pretty sure that's incorrect. No. Or Hexa Orb has a grade 1 that can counterblast Soul Blast when the trigger is revealed. If your Vanguard is Hexa Orb, you can retire the grade 1 to stand something. But that means playing Hexa Orb, which is like a complete nothing turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want at least to have an option to have a powerful turn 3. For sure.
So like, I feel like right now, probably Witches. Because then you can use the Witch to restand your Vanguard, so you effectively have 8 drive checks and 4 attacks. And if you play Zozo, I think is the one where you can reveal protect gifts to give your front row 5k, then you have like really big power with some triggers and 4 attacks, and that's decent for a first stride.
Yeah, the Zozo, the revealing the protect gift thing is only Vanguard.
Yeah, that you're supposed to use GG rewrite into Zozo after this thing attacks.
Oh, okay.
So you have 8 drive checks. Your front row is like pretty big. You should have gotten at least 1 trigger. Although I'm not sure you have room for Amaterasu if you play witches. Otherwise, you're running like 12 grade 3s, which is not great.
Which can be awkward, yeah.
What was the OTT card for the last Fighters V collection?
I'm pretty sure it was the witch.
Oh, Yo-Yo, got it.
Yeah. So it was the witch that lets you rewrite your Vanguard, but like that one's. I'm not sure about that with this because obviously the bread and butter for this card is Amaterasu being extra crit triggers.
Mm-hmm.
There was a cutout there. Did you say something about Amaterasu?
Yeah, so Amaterasu is just 4 extra crit triggers for this thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably like there's the Magus promo that if your rear guards are all Magus, it can restand itself, but like
xenophobic. Yeah.
Yep. Also means you can't run Amaterasu very easily. So like looking at potential builds right now, it's like stacking all your triggers on Silent Tom and praying, or like
Hell yeah,
running Hexa Orb, and then probably still stacking all your triggers on Silent Tom and praying, except this time there's a slight chance you can restand Tom.
Is there a way to get Lepisto to work, or?
I mean, Counterblast 2, right?
No, but I mean, like, are there good countercharge options, or?
I'm pretty sure Cone Magus is your only good option, and that requires you to, like, guess your top card correctly. So if you stack your deck, so you would have to activate the stride first, then stack your deck, and then call, like, Cone Magus. And that's only on place, too, so you'd have to do it after you pay for Lepisto.
Yeah.
I think Lepisto is prohibitively expensive.
Yes, it is.
Cost-wise.
Also, like, you still have to find a trigger in your battle phase.
Yeah.
That's true.
Amaterasu does help with, because she can discard a card to, like, check top 3 and add a normal unit to hand.
Okay.
So, like, Amaterasu is easily the best call for this thing. Like, you get her crit effect, and then she becomes a rear guard, so you can stack in the battle phase to try and find more triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you do with this right now.
I mean, I'm sure somebody out, right?
Yeah. Battle Sisters has a guard restrict, or has a sentinel restrict, but that's locked behind having a grade 3 in soul.
Ugh.
No Nightmare Painter for OTT?
So yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't even be good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, right now I'm thinking, like, run Hexa Orb and then stack all my triggers on Tom and Prey.
Mm-hmm.
Even it broke. I mean, okay. I know that there are, like, some clans, there will be something that's so good that it kind of lifts the clan on its back and it's very over-centralizing. This is the first time I'm trying to build without Crayon Tiger. And it's going okay so far. So, like, don't be afraid to try shit, because I feel like something, it could surprise you.
Yeah. I'm sure people will figure something out. Also, I guess we should talk about the Overtrigger ruling, because apparently, like, Bushiroad has officially confirmed that how somebody interpreted it is the way that it works. So, in the comprehensive ruling, it states that the effect of the trigger effect of the Overtrigger is that you bind it from the triggers, or remove it from the game, from the trigger zone, draw a card, and get the 100 million, and then, if it was a drive check, activate the additional effect. Which means that if you activate it off of this effect, or any similar type of effect like Susano, you would not remove it from the game because it is not in the trigger zone. Mm-hmm. You would draw the card and then get the 100 million. So you get a buttload of power and a draw, and you still get to keep the 50k shield. So it's just a draw trigger on steroids.
That's incredible.
Unlimited power!
Yeah. This is not how I would want it to work. If they're going to have it in the game to begin with, then I would prefer it if the Overtrigger was removed, so you don't get to just +1 and keep 100 and keep 50k shield, but apparently this is just how it's going to work.
Unfortunate.
Both.
Why? Just because, like, for simplicity's sake, or because what?
Because that's just how it's worded in the comprehensive rules. Like, removal happens specifically from the trigger zone, so...
I sure hope OTT doesn't have to put this card on top of their deck.
Yeah. Although, you don't get the extra effect, so it might be better to, like, check a bunch of regular triggers and then just check it in the battle phase for more drive checks. And then you just go, like, plus infinity. And then you deck out the next turn.
I played a guy at Springfest, like, for fun, and he was doing Battle Sisters, and he got off the OT in 3 out of 3 games because he was like, what's her face, Macaron, whatever that stride is, where you just look at the top for every rear guard you have and then put it on top or bottom.
I think if you just named any like pastry, I think people would believe you.
Macaron,
Bear Claw.
Yeah. Battle Sister Bear Claw. Oh my god! If they're all nuns with guns, she's gonna be like the nun who's been there for like 60 years.
I know the stride is not Macaron because Macaron is the small grade.
Yeah, it's Bear Claw. I told you.
That's Battle Sister Bear Claw. That's what I'm doing for the thumbnail. It's just gonna be like a Battle Sister with a Bear Claw. It's gonna be funny. But yeah, so I'm still curious to see what else we got because I still got to see that Tachi and Pale Moon reveals.
Oh yeah, it's.
Do we want to read the hilariously awful G guards that were revealed too?
But just read the Gears one. That one's good.
Just read the Gears one because the Gears one is like, dude,
like actually insulting. Okay, so when it's placed on guard circle, discard 1 or more cards with the sum of their grades being 3 or greater from your hand, and it gets shield plus 20,000 until end of battle. If you discarded cards with a sum of 6 or greater for the cost, counterblast 1, and you get a PG. You have to stride for the G guard.
Yeah. Now, granted, Gear Chronicle has a ton of cards that are treated as grade through and discarded. But when you play a PG, you lose the PG itself and the card you discarded. It's a -2. It's a perfect card. This is you lose the heal trigger and at the least 2 cards and a counterblast.
Yeah.
What is this?
This is so insulting.
This is the most
Gears G guard. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is the most hilariously bad G guard they've printed. I'm pretty sure it's worse than the OTT one, and the OTT G guard is also pretty bad.
Yeah.
That one is when placed on guard circle, counterblast 1. Declare 2 numbers from grade 0 to 3, then reveal your top deck. If the revealed card is a grade you declared, add it to hand, and then if you add it, it gets shield plus 15,000. So
it doesn't even countercharge if you're wrong. That's so wild.
Yeah. So the OTT one is counterblast 1 for nothing, but the Gear Chronicle one is discard cards to get the shield value. So I don't know what's worse.
They're both.
Gear Chronicle had a history of good G guards for the most part.
Well, the problem is they were good back then, but Head Around isn't insane anymore.
Why?
It was a lot of the power of Head Around was a lot of the shenanigans you could do elsewhere with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the extra gaining extra power. There's lots of shenanigans you could do with Head Around that made it a lot better than just what it was in guard circle, right?
I mean, it was a way to. It was it was them and Kagura. Those are the only things that could remove stuff mid battle phase.
But
back then,
yeah, and Shadow's G guards have fallen out of favor too, and Plotmaker was the gold standard at one point, right?
Yeah.
Things just numbers have gotten higher. These G guards that gain 10k shield is just not enough.
Mm-hmm. Even in something like the Great Nature one is. You have to have 3 open circles to get the 10k, but you can also retire any number. So originally that would have been whatever, but it's found this weird second life in Big Belly because you can blow up like leftover stuff on the board, and then Big Belly lets you draw for each thing. So it kind of helps in that sense. Whereas like Plotmaker, not so much anymore. Like the new Shadow Paladin one they got was good though.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It like I was so excited to start with, and then some of them have just been hit and real big miss.
Yeah. Honestly, like anything that gets less than like 15k extra shield is probably not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like the Royal G Guard is like really kind of.
It's weird.
It's
I don't know if it's bad, but it's definitely weird.
I noticed a lot of these new ones are like alternate ways to PG.
Yeah,
So
a lot of
you
them
have
are.
The Gears one, the Great Nature one, if you mill a trigger, the Royals one here, which like gives your grade 2, what was it, intercept?
10K it gets 10k shield, and when it intercepts, you can counterblast Soul Blast to be a PG.
For what it's worth, I think you'll always play the G guards that can PG, just at least one.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you'll always play the G guard that what?
That can PG, like at least one, like at least
Oh
one.
yeah,
like
although
what's
the
up?
annoying thing about the Royals one is that it gives the ability to something else, so it does not gain any shield or extra abilities on its own. It's all onto the grade 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but at least has the benefit where like you can like if it guards it by itself, you could just like save the thing for elsewhere.
Yeah,
which is kind of neat.
Or just like, okay, I'm going to pick this thing, and then pull it over here, and then do the PG effects or whatever. Like it, it's kind of like the Blockade Genga, where you would kill something and then pick 2 rear guards, and they get when they die, they go back to hand. So like you kill it, pick your 2 interceptors, intercept them, they go back to your hand. That
I hate that G guard, to be honest.
I hate it too, but it's a thing. I've definitely done double where I've like killed something and did like an interceptor, and then I had like a heal guardian in the front row, and then I did Genga again and killed the heal guardian, and then I went back to my hand.
It's got to feel bad for Gears players. They've been getting kind of owned on these premium collections.
Yeah, because I think they just don't know what to do with Gear Chronicle now.
100%. I think like what would have made this card, what is it, the Shishma, like a lot better. And this is something really small, but like a continuous effect that like gives your front row like 4K or 3K or something. Mm-hmm. So they like because like a lot of the cards you have to play just don't hit anymore.
Yeah.
And like there are cards that like or like Wild Face Up in G Zone give like plus 2K to your front row or something. Would be like really valuable to Gears, and I don't even think it would be broken. Say, I just think like it's something that Gears can really, really use in this day and age. Because like people are still playing like Melem, TikTok, Erwatar, right?
Yeah.
Because if you want to play that, because you have to play Jet, right?
Yeah.
But like Melem doesn't hit modern Vanguards.
No, it doesn't.
So
it needs to be on a force marker or something.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, if they hit a defensive trigger, it's still it's like really bad, right?
It's curtains for you.
It's just really, really, really awkward. So, giving it just even like plus 2K, like Wild Face Up in G Zone, would be huge for that clan. And it not doing that is kind of tragic.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're like trying to move away from that, right? Away from the Melem Erwatar TikTok thing. Except
they're not printing cards like they want to move away from it.
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't print anything that justifies moving away from it. So you're like, well, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I got nothing else. I hope you enjoyed our little discussion on Antimeta. And to the listener, the question is, what is Antimeta to you? Do you think Bushiroad should do something about Ordercolony?
What do you think about Battle Sister Bearclaw?
What do you think about Battle Sister Bearclaw? Tell us. Follow us on Twitter at Nexus at Night, on Twitter, Instagram. We got a Patreon, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Thanks to Darren, Cole, Josh, Jeremy, and Mewwill. We also got merch that's down in the description /show notes. What about the rest of us?
You can find me on Twitter at Wiggums, 2Gs, 2Zs.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse.
You can find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram, or follow my other show, Generation Dan, on Twitter. New episodes every Thursday. The one coming out this week is with LA comedian Kayla Esmond, who has a story about having an abortion during a comedy show. So,
Okay.
that's the thing. Yeah, get ready for that. Thanks everybody for listening. And until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And have a good night, everybody.